So, you're looking to import a JDM car in 2024. Well, whether it's your first time or your fifth time, the process has changed a little bit in recent years. JDM cars are great. They often come standard with quirky features like air vents that swing across the cabin, or the ability to watch Shrek on your head unit. You can get a high-performance engine in the body of a luxury car, or even a road-going rally monster. When shopping JDM, you're spoiled for choice. Some will say that maintaining a car imported from Japan will become problematic, but many JDM cars share parts with North American counterparts. For example, this Toyota Crown shares a lot of parts with the Lexus IS300. All of this means that sourcing parts for JDM cars becomes a fun little challenge that very rarely results in overnight shipping from Japan.
Overnight parts from Japan.
But what about the import process itself? How has it changed in recent years, and what should you expect if you're trying to import a car today? Let's talk about it.
We recently took delivery of this beautiful Toyota Crown we won at auction. The auction was in March. This car landed in Canada in November. Serving the auctions could be great, but since the pandemic hit, the process involved in importing has changed a lot. Fortunately for Japan, the yen has made a strong resurgence and has recently peaked at its highest value since 1998. This has made it more difficult than ever for us North Americans to afford our JDM dream cars. That's not the end of the bad news for potential buyers either. COVID unfortunately still has a grip on the world, and not in the way you might think. So what is the problem? Shipping backlogs. During COVID, as all of you know, there was a global shutdown of, well, basically everything. The specific issue in the automotive industry was a combination of a few things. Number one, part shortage. A shortage of basic manufacturing labor for many things, most importantly microchips, led to a large backlog as orders placed at the beginning of the pandemic sat waiting to be filled. As more orders were placed, the backlog grew larger and larger, leading to long delays, which we're still seeing the effects of today. Number two, disposable income. Here in Canada, our government implemented stimulus checks to help Canadians who were put out of work due to the pandemic. This led to a large influx in disposable income for people who no longer had to pay for gas for their vehicle or dinner at restaurants or many other things. And finally, number three, backlogged orders. Now you're probably saying, didn't you just talk about backlogged parts? Yeah, I did. But now I'm specifically talking about backlogged cars. Because of the influx of disposable income, many people decided to treat themselves to a new car! Combining all three of these things, you start to see the problem. Someone with extra money decides, I'm gonna go buy a new car. The person goes to the manufacturer, places the order of said new car. Then, the manufacturer goes to place the order for the parts and realizes, oh no, some of these are backlogged for months. And then, the person's car is put on a waiting list, waiting to be shipped across the sea. And then, someone with extra money decides, I'm gonna buy a new car. The person goes to the manufacturer, places the order of said new car. Then the manufacturer places the order of the parts and realizes, oh no, some of these parts are backlogged for months. Then the car is put on a waiting list, waiting to be shipped across the sea. And this goes on over and over, and you start to see what exactly happened.
Now, you're probably wondering, what does any of this have to do with old JDM cars? The problem is that there are only so many boats to bring cars across the Pacific, and new cars get priority. So this means that the car you won at auction that was supposed to arrive in 2 months is now sitting at the port and could be sitting there for an extra couple months.
Along with having to sit for a couple extra months, if you don't have somewhere in Japan to store your car, you're most likely going to accumulate some damage from the sun and the acid rain. Take our Crown as an example. This was a grade 4 at auction. It is most certainly a 3.5 now. This might not be a problem for people who don't care about the paint or have plans to paint the car. What this does mean is that you will be paying for the grade given at auction only to potentially lose half a grade or more while it sits.
Does this mean this is a bad time to import JDM cars? Well, that depends. A lot of very rare, popular JDM cars are only increasing in value, and eventually some cars will become completely unattainable for the average enthusiast.
Take the Honda S2000 for example. A couple of years ago, you could get yourself a pretty decent one for under 20 grand. Nowadays, you're hard pressed to find anything for under 35. Our advice would be to do whatever you want. If you've got a car that your heart is set on and you think it's the right time to buy, go for it. But we would also suggest looking into alternatives to the car you're looking to buy. An example would be this Toyota Crown. Our original plan was to buy a Toyota Chaser or a Toyota Mark II, but for the prices they're going for at auction, this made much more sense. Sure, we still have to manual swap this one, but it's still cheaper than a Chaser at auction currently.
If you're in a hurry and you're set on JDM, take a look around locally. You might be able to snag one that's already been imported. You'll skip the wait and you might even save some money.